Well, as I take a ride around the Hope Airport, not the Hope International Airport, but the Hope Airport, I'm going to read you a little story when I had a 72 650 Yamaha. It was a real cool bike. I don't know if you can see here. Have a look. See it? Yeah, that was my 650. I believe the year was 1979, and I had somehow come upon a nice Yamaha XS 650, my second 650. I was riding around checking out where the gang was one day, but everybody was busy. I checked my wallet and found enough for a ride south into the States, so I grabbed some essentials and headed south. Being across the border by noon, I cruised down I-5 to Bellingham, where I got off the interstate and followed the Chuckanut Drive past the Oyster Bar and onto Whidbey Island. Like to get off of those main highways as much as possible. It sure was nice that earlier in my riding career I belonged to a group of riders that met every Sunday morning for a ride somewhere cool. We explored both sides of the border, from Agassiz, Chilliwack, Vancouver, Squamish, Whistler, Pemberton in Canada, to Mount Baker, Everett, Whidbey Island, and Bellingham in the US. We used major highways as little as possible and explored and discovered some amazing rides. Anyway, back to my story. As I came off the Mukilteo Ferry near Everett, I had to stop at the Boeing facility for a quick picture. And then after a time check, I realized that I dropped myself into Seattle rush hour traffic. I'm sure it's a lot worse now, but I remember to this day that I was a busy ride through downtown Seattle, and it was good to get to Tacoma, where I stopped to take a picture of an overpass above Interstate 5. After grabbing a quick bite in Tacoma, I headed south with no particular destination in mind and ended up at a motel in Hoquiam, Washington, west of Olympia on the coast. I watched a few movies and realized I only had enough cash to ride home tomorrow, so I had to be thrifty tonight. Well, come the next morning, I woke up to some of the hardest rain I've ever seen. Oh well, I packed up and got the rain gear on and headed out of town. I was soaked through my rain gear within 5 minutes. This is going to be a long ride, I said to myself, and plowed on through the persistent rain. But once you're soaked, and it not being really stupid cold, you start to enjoy the ride because you just get used to it. Yeah, you can't get any more wet once you're wet. And anyway, somewhere along the 101 I stopped for some pics, but I generally hightailed it for the coast, for the ferry at Port Townsend. Here's where I stopped for some pics. I don't know if you can see that. Anyways. After a short wait at the ferry terminal, the ferry started to board and I took my spot at the front, which was uncovered from the driving rain. There was a cafeteria on board and I poured myself a cup of coffee and went right back down to where the bike was and hung out in the cold and the rain. My thought process was, why would I get all warm and cozy on a 20-minute ferry ride, only have to get back on the bike and get cold and wet all over again for the next couple hours till I'm home. But I must say, getting home and having a hot shower never felt so good.